There you go. And then you can catch the little stems of the apples in there with some green, if it needs any. Now my last step is going to be to color the wooden bucket here. So I'm going to start with some E31, which is brick beige, and I'm going to add quite a bit of color using the chunkier side of the marker. Work my way around the handle. And then when I get to the finer areas, I can switch around and use the finer point. That'll allow me to get into the tight areas. One of the things you may not know about the Copic markers is that if you have sketch markers or chow markers, they do make other types of nibs that you can put into the markers to replace whatever side you don't use. So I know some of you don't use that chisel side of the marker, where you can purchase a bullet type. It won't be quite as small as this, but they do make a bullet type end that you can replace that chisel side. So if you already have sketch markers or chows and you don't want to replace them all, you can purchase those little bullet ends, and that will do the same kind of job as the originals. Okay, now I'm going to go down along the different planks of wood with a darker marker. I'm using E35, which is called chamois. And I'm just going to kind of go down the sides. Go down the other side too a little bit here. And then I'm going to go along the perimeter of that board and along the top here. Like that. And then going back to my original beige marker, I'm going to work on the line again and blend those two areas together. And do the bottom part. Now I also want to add one more dark marker. I'm using E37, which is sepia, and I'm going to run that kind of underneath the handle because I want it to look like it's got a little bit of a shadow going under there, and maybe a little bit coming in around the side here. And this is the kind of thing that you can play with to see, you know, what you think what you want it to look like. Just working with different colors and bringing in some darker shades. Kind of bringing some in from the side here too. And then I'm going to go with my medium marker, the E35 again, and I'm going to blend some of that together. And you can start to see, I have to turn it a little bit so I can get a better angle. You can start to see how that kind of just blends those two together. And then we'll go back with the light one again. And then grab that light one again and blend those areas together. Now, a little trick my daughter taught me. We'll distress that handle in a minute. A little trick my daughter taught me is that it's really pretty to add a color that has nothing to do with the colors you're working on. So I'm going to add a turquoise color, BG49, which is duck blue, and I'm just going to run some of that down the perimeter of the planks of wood. And it really does add an aged look. It really does give it a little bit of interest. Just in certain areas. You don't have to do it everywhere, but just in certain areas. And then you can go back and blend that with your lightest brown marker, and it really does kind of age it a little bit more. And then if you want to blend it in a little more, you can go ahead and add that medium brown, the E35, and blend that in just a little bit more. It'll just dull it a little bit. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do right at the very end to really age it. But first, I'm going to add a little bit of W5. That's a warm gray. And I'm just going to add that to the top of the bucket here. And then I'm going to color down the metal parts of the bucket with the gray. I'm going to add a little bit of gray into that handle. And even though that handle would be wood, it does make it stand out a little bit from the other parts of the wood, so it's more visible. And blend that together with some of that lightest brown. Okay, and now the fun part is to grab your colorless blender, and I'm going to use the chisel side of the marker, but you can use if you have a sketch marker and you want to use the brush side, you can do that. And now I'm just going to run the marker kind of on an angle and pull some color off. See how that's just pulling the color off, making it look a little bit distressed. Kind of going around the perimeter there. And now I've aged my bucket. For advanced coloring techniques, check the Copic marker website for Copic certification classes near you. But don't worry if you're just starting out. You don't have to follow any rules to create vibrant color and beautiful cards. Just pull out your markers, start coloring, and have fun.